I have to ask what excites you about what's happening at that level of dining and what we can look forward to and what's changing for the better, what the future holds. What excites you in your hometown or someone else's?
We just we cooked at the James Beard House in New York a couple of weeks ago, and we got to try a whole bunch of restaurants at the same time, and there was some pretty interesting restaurants. Nomad, Daniel Hellman is doing great work there. We got to try Per Se and Atera, and Atera is doing such interesting, cerebral, just very, forward-thinking food where it wasn't everything that was based on structure, and it was done very well. I really enjoyed that. I think from what I see that food's getting a little bit more, in North America anyways, it's getting a little bit more structured now. Can easily compete with what's going on in Europe, and it's very exciting to you can in LA and you can eat just as well as you can in London and Paris and that kind of stuff. Like there's really amazing food in North America now, which is we lagged behind for a while,
yeah.
and now I think we're definitely competing. So
for me personally, I think the biggest desire that I've always had is the fact that a lot of these cuisines are being kind of intermingled a little bit. So it's not this is French, this is Italian, this is Californian, or this is Indian. It's a little bit of like a beautiful mix of fabric that's happening, and that's what Canada is all about.
Well, just to interrupt, like fusion. I remember when I was starting cooking, it was fusion that was kind of the thing there, and it just got bastardized big time. And that what we do is a little bit of fusion for sure, but I'm apprehensive of calling it fusion because it got so creamed before. So right. And so that really is sort of happening right now.
Yeah, and I think the flow of the cultures and the cuisines are happening very beautifully. And I think when you look at some of the restaurants in town, for example, they're a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then they're creating great flavors. But the most important part is that the chefs actually understand that cuisine. They've dabbled in both sides. They've dabbled in French cooking. They know exactly how their own heritage is, and creating flavors and presenting it nicely. And I think that's what the most important part is, because that's how cultures are supposed to blend. That's how languages are formed, and that's how cuisines are formed as well. I think this attitude of this is black and white is slowly, I wouldn't say clouded, but it's a beautiful fabric of the lay of the land where we are, which is Canada, basically.
Yeah, we've had an interesting 25 years. Our careers have sort of spanned the time from when we really didn't have a restaurant culture, or really even have a food culture in North America. We thought we did, and that's why the Europeans would sort of snicker at us. But it took a long time to absorb all that information. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, and we sort of came along in 30 years. So where we are now, we've sort of balanced it out, and the water has slushed back and forth, and it's settling into a really interesting food culture in North America, specifically Canada. Like I think between the major cities in Canada, we just have a really hot community. So once all these young chefs come up, and you give them 5-6 more years, learning from great mentors, it's going to be really sensational to see what they come up with.
The technology is playing such a key role in what's happening now, because before, when we would start off, you'd hear about Joël Robuchon's pomme puree, and you'd be like, what is that like? And you'd be like, and you'd want to talk to somebody that may have talked to somebody who actually ate it, right? And now, somebody's eating it and taking a picture of it, and you're there, right? You know the consistency of it. You can almost taste it. So I'm salivating right now. But we're so tech savvy in North America that I think that's really you know, propelling restaurants and cooks, you know, super fast. We can see what's happening in New York, in Brisbane, in Hong Kong. You know, you can check out menus, and, you know, that is really gonna speed up, you know, how.
The cooks, the younger generation cooks taking full advantage of that, you know. We had the little Crayola box with 8 crayons, these guys have the 64 pack now. And it's really tapping into that, and you know, from a research standpoint, from philosophies, you know, how to embrace new suppliers and farmers, and learning how these big chefs, you know, how they've gone about developing whatever, what's his name down at Stone Barn in New York, Dan Barber, you know, the way that technology via the internet or TED Talks or whatnot, you know, these cooks will be really affected by that, and that will affect how they run their restaurant and focus on that, and yeah, they all these new relationships with the fishermen, with the foragers, with the butchers, and again, it's accessibility for them.
Yeah, but what was interesting in Montreal 25 years ago, you have many good upscale restaurants, but you have nothing in the middle range. And now you have less and less upscale restaurants in Montreal, Grand Table, and you have so many middle range restaurants. I think that's the way I see all Montreal and the Quebec move right now about, and this is very good for the food, because now when we think about eat good, it's not only on the high restaurant, it's all level of restaurant, and we have to come to the fast food on the bottom line, and that's where change, and that's interesting. I hope it will be great.